This is Karen Squires, Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Stampin' by the Bay. Today we're making this Cajun Craze Brick Wall Masculine card. We start with a piece of Very Vanilla, 5.5 by 5.5. I ran it through my Big Shot using my Brick Wall embossing folder. Right now I'm lightly sponging in circular patterns using the soft suede ink. I find that some people have an easier time using the sponges versus the sponge dauber, but I like the sponge. Next, I use Cajun Craze, and I use my sponge, and again, I go in circular patterns. You can see it's really red, but don't worry. As you can see, it's starting to edge the color of the bricks and really making them pop. Next, I pick up the Early Espresso ink and I go over again with the Early Espresso ink. And this just kind of darkens the red down a little bit. But again, it's just adding more definition to the bricks. Next, I go back with the Cajun Craze and I add in a little bit more red to the bricks. And then I will go back over again one last time with the Early Espresso ink. The reason why I like doing a 5.5 by 5.5 piece of paper is I like to trim it down that 5.5 piece and put it the little bit into the inside of the card. I just figure if you're going to sit there and sponge, adding a little bit is not going to hurt. And now I'm going over with the Early Espresso ink. And it's hard to believe that that was a piece of Very Vanilla paper. This I should have trimmed the other way, where I should have trimmed off on the long side 5 3/8, and then I would only have to trim 4 1/8. But basically you'll trim it so you'll have two pieces, one 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and the other, I'm not even sure how tall it is, and the length is 5 3/8. That is a piece of Very Vanilla, 2 inches, a little under 2 inches, so it fits into the punch. I do use my triple banner punch to punch out the edge before I stamp, so I can make sure it's at the right placement. Stamping with Cajun Craze. This stamp set, Happy Birthday Everyone, is a Hostess set. And the Early Espresso ink is just a little bit longer than the Very Vanilla, but it is under 2 inches by 5 1/4 inch. And I layer it right on top, and you only see the Early Espresso at the very edge. Now, the scrap of Very Vanilla is a 1/2 inch piece by 2 inches about. I stamp with 2U in Early Espresso ink, and I use a little bit banner punch, and I punch flag the ends of the scrap of Very Vanilla. And then I use a dimensional. I sponge the edges, and then I use a dimensional to attach it to the banner. There's no need to re-ink your sponge. There should be enough ink on there just to give it a little bit of a darker hue around the edges. take a scrap of Cajun Craze and I punch out 3 stars. This is from the Itty Bitty pack, or Itty Accent pack in the catalog. Attach the 3 stars to the banner. Next, I take my card pieces. I use my corner chopper. I use the 1/2 inch setting. The corner chopper I have is just a rounder, and it's 1/4 setting and a 1/2 inch. And right here, I'm only corner rounding the sides of the card. I want the one edge to be flat. That's my early espresso piece, card base, 4 1/4 by 11 inches, scored at 5 1/2. And then my inside piece of Berry and Vanilla is 4 1/8 inch by 5 3/8 inch. So now I'm going to attach my brick wall to my front of my Early Espresso card base. I'm going to take the banner piece and I attach a piece of fun foam to the back, and this just gives it a little bit of dimension, and the fun foam is located in your local craft store. Take my cotton Early Espresso ribbon and tie it around the edge of the banner, and then I will attach this to the card front. Now for the inside piece, take my Berry Vanilla and I stamp with the Cajun Craze, the Make-A-Wish stamp that's from the Perfect Pendants stamp set. And I stamp that right into the center. And I find out that it's crooked. So then I flip it over on the back and I restamp. It's hard for me to see straight on with the camera. And I attach that piece of brick wall that we sponged for the front of the card, and I attach it to the bottom edge. And there's still enough room, you can sign on the side. And I attach this into the inside of the card. And there you have it. That is my Cajun Craze Make-A-Wish Happy Birthday card. Thank you for stopping by.